So this following video is going to be different to the other ones. It will tell you 10 things we didn't know about Oman before we actually came here. The reason why we make this video is because it might help you when you decide to travel to Oman to prepare yourself or make a few decisions before you travel here, or maybe it just eases your mind when you plan to come here, or even helps you with the decision of coming here. A really important thing we have to mention before we start this video is that it's not a video about judgment. It's not going to be a video about us making our opinion about a country public in the internet. It's purely facts, which we realized while we were traveling here, which might or might not affect you when you travel, because they actually affected us while we were traveling here in a good or bad way. You will see. So number one of the things we want to talk about is the price when you come here to travel in a monetary way. Before we came to Oman, a lot of people told us that Oman is relatively expensive. So we prepared ourselves to spend much more money than we usually spend while we are on tour. In fact, Oman turned to be out much cheaper than we thought it would be. True is that when you want to stay in a hotel or something similar, you will have to pay a lot of money compared, for example, to Turkey or Albania, Greece, wherever we've been before. But in fact, there's so many wild camping opportunities that you actually don't need to stay in a hotel, other than if you feel like obviously to go in. But you will find that a lot of people will invite you also to stay in their place. Like, for example, we do now. We have an amazing couchsurfing host here, very close to Sohar in Oman. And we also have an amazing person in Muscat who's hosting us whenever we go there to work. So if you don't have to pay for accommodation, Oman is so much cheaper than you think it would be. The prices, for example, compared to Turkey, even are lower than Turkey in some respects. This mainly applies to food. So going out to eat here in small coffee shops, you will find them all along the way. It's much cheaper than, for example, in Turkey, and obviously it's much cheaper in than in most European countries. So to give you an example, if you go to a coffee shop here in Oman, and we usually Indian food, because there's like coffee shops run by Indians, Pakistanis or Bangladeshis all over the place. Not only that the food is super tasty, but it's also really affordable. Like 2 people for 2 meals, including at least 1 tea, usually pay 1 real. And 1 real at the moment is €2.30. So if you plan to come here and you're worried about the costs, don't be. Even the supermarkets are much cheaper than in most European countries. I mean, supermarkets are more expensive than, for example, countries like Albania or Turkey, but not significantly. So the price for 2 people, if you want to have like a really good, let me put it, standard of living, is about, like, let's say 8 to 10 euros per day for 2. So we thought that's quite affordable, and so yeah, this is one of the facts we did not know about Oman. So another fact we did not know about Oman is that more than 12% of the population in this country are actually not Omanis, but Pakistanis, Bangladeshis and Indians. And you will see when you come here that they keep most of the service infrastructure running and alive in this country. And they mainly run grocery stores, coffee shops, laundry stores, hairdressing businesses and things like this. So when you're bike touring, this becomes very essential, because not only that the infrastructure for those services is actually really, really good, but also they're very cheap and like affordable, let me put it that way. So for example, if you want to go to a hairdresser, to wash your hair because, as I said before, we stay outdoors most of the time. Now this is day number 22 of our round number 2, and it's been the first time that we stay indoors, not outdoors. So obviously we have to clean ourselves every once in a while. So sometimes we treat ourselves with going to the hairdresser and getting a hair wash. So thanks to all the very, very diligent workers from Pakistan, India and Bangladesh in this country, there's a lot of cheap services available which become very essential when you bike tour here. The third fact we did not know about Oman, and I really want to talk about here, is the fact that not everyone in this country is rich. We figured that a lot of people in the world think that Oman is a very rich country, hence everyone living here is very rich, and this is apparently not true. Because of the previous point I was stating, that 12% of the people living here are Pakistanis, Indians and Bangladeshis. So even though they keep the service infrastructure alive in this country, they are just living on minimum wage. And so obviously this population of the country is not very rich. But also Omanis are, not everyone is rich here, even though the outside world thinks that everyone is profiting from the oil which has been found in the 60s, but in fact it's not true. There's still very, very small and very decent houses all over the place. And not only in small settlements, but also here outside of Soha, very small settlements, very small houses, old houses, and kids running around without shoes, and actually even people asking us for money. So same like in every country in the world, not everyone is profiting from the resources of the country. So this also applies for Oman. And the way it was affecting us on our trip is not only that because we are an anti-stigma initiative, we fight against stigma, and it's also stigma that everyone is rich in Oman, so we want to just get rid of the stigma because it's not true. But also it affects you when you bicycle travel in a way that you see much more faces of society, and you get in touch with different groups of society, which I think personally for your personal growth is very important when you bike tour and not only seeing the glittery doodah of this world. Now, point number 4 in the list of things we didn't know about Oman is actually coming very close to point number 3, is that the economy is still largely based on agriculture and fishing and not oil. So as I said before, not everyone is profiting from the oil, which is obviously because there is oil, but not enough to feed everyone in this country. So a lot of Omanis still live off just having farms and farming or going fishing. And this affects you in several ways when you bike touring. First of all, even though it's a relatively dry country, there's fruits and veggies everywhere because they grow them here. So the quality of the fruits and veggies is incredible, like really, really, really nice. One of the best we have ever eaten, not only on this trip, but in our entire life. And also because it's local, the prices are really cheap. So you can find cheap fruits and veggies all over Oman. And you will also find that when you pass a farm or you camp next to a farm, that a lot of farmers will just give you some fruits and veggies to try, also because they're very, very proud of the agriculture skills. So this is one of the facts which we appreciated a lot while we were traveling, because we eat a lot of veggies and we weren't sure how the availability of those groceries will be in Oman. So it's very good. So point number 5 in the list of things we did not know about Oman is going to be a longer one because we think it's very important to give you some detailed explanation about it. So point number 5 of things we didn't know is that Oman is apparently not as modern as you think it would be. And while saying this, we don't only refer to the fact that even in big cities there's no such thing as skyscrapers like modern buildings or entertainment infrastructure such as cinemas, theaters, or concert halls. I mean, there is, but not really widespread. You cannot see them on the first spot. But we are actually more talking about education and infrastructure. So let me start with infrastructure because it's very essential when you're bike touring. So when you come to Oman, you will find that there's a very small bus network and no train network at all available in this country, which makes it sometimes very hard if you want to go from one place to the other and you don't want to cycle, or you just can't anymore because either your bike is broken, you are broken,
Ouch.
or you're just exhausted and you just want to go back to one place. So we had this situation while we were trying to cross the desert from the north to the south, which is apparently a way of more than 800 kilometers just through the flat desert with nothing left and right, just really strong winds. So we were actually considering to go by bus from the north to the south or the other way around. And turned out that buses just run between big cities. So if you are in a big city, you might be able to catch a bus to go to the next one. But if you're somewhere on the way, like we were, you cannot just stop the buses. You have to book a ticket in advance in the bus station in order to get from one place to the other. Next thing is, because there is buses like running just every few hours or just sometimes once a day or even less, you will have a hard time to get your bicycle in the bus. We heard from people traveling solo that they didn't have any problems, but two bikes is a different story. So getting two bikes fit in a bus, which is usually fully booked, is gonna be really hard. So we had to turn around from the desert and didn't make it all the way south because we didn't want to cross 800 kilometers of nothingness, just strong winds, and we couldn't fit our bikes in the buses. And the next thing we associate when we think about modernity is actually education. And this paragraph is not about judgment, as I said in my introduction, but it's just about facts. We just want to refer to one part of education in this country which is essential for bicycle touring, and it's the lack of education when it comes to environmental issues. So when you come to Oman, you will see a lot of trash bins everywhere, but people are not motivated or well educated enough, I don't know, to use them actually. So it's very, very common that you will see someone in a car passing you and just opening the window and throwing out their trash. And this is not because the trash bins are full, because we rarely see completely full trash bins, but still the whole country is polluted by plastic, by metal, and even dead animals are disposed just somewhere on secret dumpsters in the whole country. So when you bike tour, it will affect you in a way that, for example, when you go to Wadi in order to relax or just wash, you will find yourself swimming in plastic instead of clear water. And if you're looking for a wild camp spot, and obviously for this you go away from the road, a little bit more deep in nature, and you see a nice valley from the far. Eventually when you get there, it's just another secret dumpster, and you either have to turn around or live with the fact that you will sleep in trash for a night. So number 6 of the things we didn't know before we came to Oman is that there's literally water everywhere. When we came here, like I think a lot of people who consider coming to Oman, we were thinking, okay, if we want to go to a desert country and to the desert, and if we want to cross big ranges of mountains and also a lot of kilometers in just dry area, we have to make sure that our supply of water is not running out. So we got ourselves a water bladder and additional bottles of water. We got ourselves a water filter just in case that we can only drink water from a wadi or whatever. And eventually we never used any of those. I mean, we use the water bladder sometimes, but it's very rare that you will find yourself in a situation that you really will have to carry a lot of water. So there's two different kinds of water we are actually talking about here. So one is like water you need to wash, because if you stay outdoors and you don't go into a hotel or into a private house such as couch surfing, obviously you will have to wash yourself at some point. And there's 2 or 3 opportunities to do so here in Oman. One is actually that the wadis, which are canyons filled with water. The second opportunity you have to wash yourself is obviously mosques. Some mosques have a shower, so you can even take a proper shower, or all the mosques have the opportunity to wash yourselves, because believers have to clean themselves before they actually go to a prayer. So I don't recommend to get naked and wash yourself completely, but it's a very good opportunity to wash your hands, to get rid of some dust of your arms and your face most of all. And I also wash my hair sometimes in those places, so no one ever had a problem with this. And so this is how we kept ourselves clean. Third opportunity to wash your body is public bathing spaces. So in the old days, Omanis used to build some drainages from the wadis to the towns, and on the way they built something like public washing rooms. It's basically just a wall around the stream, so you can go inside and wash dishes, wash your clothes, wash yourself. And this is all the 3 of them we did in those public bathing houses. And depending where you are in the country, sometimes you will find like one of the public bathing houses like every 10 to 15 kilometers, and sometimes you will just find them every 2 or 3 days, but then there will be the other 2 options available on the road. So the second source of water supply we are talking about is actually drinking water. There's water filters literally everywhere. You will find when you cross Oman that there's big water canisters standing basically around on top of construction made from brick stones, and below that there's a water filter machine. Not only that it's filtering the water, in most cases it's also cooling the water, which is a blessing when it's really, really warm like now, and you're out there cycling just feeling thirsty and dusty. So there's very rare occasions where you cannot find those water filter machines. I think we had it once, like one day, where we had to rely on just tap water and not filtered water within the last 2 months in this country. So this is actually really, really, really good here. And in case you have a very long distance between one water filter and the other, the longest we ever had was 70 kilometers, also on a very warm day. But believe me, you will never run out of water, because Omanis always stop, especially when it's a very dry place, and ask you if you have enough water, and or just give you a bottle of water. Even if you're fully loaded, they will give you a bottle of water. So let's keep going with the positive points of things we didn't know about Oman. Is number 7, there's a lot of greenery. And this is first of all because there's still a lot of wadis, even though water is becoming more rare, but still there's a lot of wadis which carry water, and around the wadis you will always find a lot of palm trees and bushes and flowers, and it smells amazing when you go there. It's really good for your mental health actually, after a long time in a deserted area, to see something green and to smell something fresh and bloomy. It will just make you really happy while you bike tour in a desert country. Now, point 8 of the things we didn't know about Oman before we came here is the hills. I mean, we knew that the hills here in Oman are some of the steepest on the entire planet, and this is actually true. But what we didn't know is that the hills are actually steep but not long. So for us, this is a very important fact to know, because when you plan a tour, you will know your body, whether you are having the stamina to take a long, medium steep climb, or rather having a short and very steep climb. And yeah, we were surprised actually that the climbs are really short. So our list of things we didn't know about Oman is almost coming to an end. And number 9 of the things we did not know before we came here is that actually Oman has a very old history. And I don't know why we weren't aware of this before. Probably just our idea of Oman is a very relatively new country, dominated by the oil industry and everything shining and blinking. But actually Oman, which used to be called Majan, was kind of a territory of Mesopotamia. And Majan used to be basically like the copper mining resource for the kingdom of Mesopotamia, which is not so far from here if you look at the map. And something we did not know is that there is actually remains of the old Majan society still visible in this country. And we only found it by accident actually when we were traveling in the mountains, that there is places like Al Ain or Abat where there is really old so-called beehive tombstones. And those used to be burial places. And apparently they are already 5,000 years old, those tombstones, which means they are even older than the pyramids of Giza. And this was something we really didn't know and didn't expect. And here again, how it was important for us as bicycle tourists is because it's very refreshing when you travel a country and you get more knowledge and information about the culture and the history of the country you are actually in. We thought that's interesting. And not only this, but we also used the opportunity of those really beautiful and tranquil places to camp there. So we actually camped twice in the same place in LA next to the beehive tombstones, just because we did some detour round trips in the area, and the camping place was just so nice and yeah, very calming for our mood and very good for our mental health. So last but not least, a very interesting fact about Oman, which actually had no effect on our bike touring experience at all, but we thought it's very interesting for you to know because it was very interesting for us to know, is that Oman once held a colony in Africa, which was Zanzibar. So Zanzibar was colonized by Oman, and the capital of Oman was even removed from Muscat to Zanzibar in 1840 and only moved back when the Brits came in 1890 to colonize Zanzibar. So you will still find a lot of people with African descent here in Oman, and also if you go to Zanzibar, you will find that people in Zanzibar look pretty different to the rest of Tanzania because they have Omanian descent. So I thought this was a very interesting fact, and it's just completing our list of 10 things we did not know about Oman. You might find this interesting, so we added this on the list. So thank you for watching this video, and we would actually be very happy if you would give us a feedback if you find those information very helpful or not relevant for your future or current bicycle trips at all. Because if you find it very helpful, we would probably continue this series of things we didn't know about countries before we traveled there. So yeah, leave any kind of feedback you want. Any kind of feedback will help us, and yeah, enjoy your bike touring, enjoy your bike touring planning in whatever stage you are at the moment. Just enjoy it, have fun, and see you later.